let me show you how to build this animated split scroll website where each side grows and shrinks on hover. Let's break it down. First, to lay the foundation of our section, turn on advanced sizing here, and I'll set the height to 100 viewport height. Add in 10 pixels of padding to this section on all sides except for the bottom. Then let's drag in a container, removing the background and stretching it to be full width and aligned to the top and center. Then in layout, I'll add in an advanced CSS grid and add in another column of 1 FR, and very importantly, change the row to 100 viewport height. Then let's add in a gap of 10 pixels too and remove the background. Into each cell, drop in another container, stretch it, and then remove that background. Now, the real magic happens when we grab a flexbox component, setting the type to slider, direction top to bottom, and the gap up to 10 pixels. Then set the width to 100% and height to about 140%. And then we'll dock it also to the center and the top. Then we'll go ahead and duplicate it for the other side, just like so. And that is most of the grid work actually done, and if you've set things up just like I have, you should be able in preview to scroll through our empty flexbox containers just like this. Now, when it comes to content, you could really put anything you like in here, but we'll start by setting this container up to 650 pixels minimum height and stretching an image. Then I can simply add in a logo and a nav bar, some text and a button, along with a few important stats right at the bottom. In the next item down, I'll set the minimum height to 1196 pixels and then drop in a repeater, stretch it, and add in a fourth item too. While we're here, let's also edit those gaps ever so slightly, and then into each one, I'll add in an image, the guide at the top, and then more important info right at the bottom. The nice thing about this layout is it is super flexible, so if you wanted, you could add in things like testimonials, background videos, or even footers with an email sign up. I'll go ahead and repeat this process for the other side too. On this side, we'll add in a map, a few product packages, and then a few more maps just to finish it off. And with that, now we can start building out these hover animations that result in these super cool effects. To start, I'll select our left container with the flexbox within it, and then let's add in a hover effect and create a custom animation. In here, let's scale the X and Y up to 130% and then translate the X and Y 15%. I'll hit done and then we'll rename this animation to grow. Then let's add in another hover effect, this time targeting the right container, but triggered from the left container. Create a custom animation, and this will be what shrinks the right container when we hover on the left container. So scale it down to 70% on both the X and Y, and then we'll also translate the X 15% and the Y negative 15%. Popping out, let's go ahead and rename this to shrink. Checking out the animation so far, when we hover on the left side, it expands and the right side collapses. So now let's go ahead and do that exact same thing for the right side. Selecting the right container now, let's add any hover effect again with a custom animation. And this one will be where we grow up 130% and translate negative 15% on the X and 15 on the Y axis. This animation will be grow once again, and then adding in another hover effect, this time target the left container, shrinking 70% on the X and Y and translate negative 15% on both axes. This one we will also name shrink. Looking at both containers now, you should see both grow on self, shrink on container, and shrink by container too. And with that, you should get this result when you do hover, and each half will scroll entirely independently too. If you want to see more videos just like this one, check out another tutorial.